But the reality is you got to pick somebody that is going to attract a first-time renter, first-time contractor to the area, because when someone comes to a new market or looks to make that first rental, they go to the web. They don't go to a phone book. They don't go to a friend. They go to equipment rental and blah, blah, blah. And if you're not on that first page and your site doesn't look just as good as United or Sunbelt or somebody else like that, you're leaving money on the table, and those guys are getting those rentals over you.
Welcome to Pure Talk, a dialogue with business owners just like you. Pure Talk conversations run the gamut of business challenges facing owners today. The host of Pure Talk is Dan Crowley, founder and owner of Pure Executive Groups, which provides a safe space for owners to share their experience, grow their businesses, and learn from their peers.
Hi, this is Dan Crowley. We have a number of great owners in our peer group network, just like you, and our job is to give you a voice here on Pure Talk. Today's Pure Talk podcast is sponsored by IntegraSoft, business software for your growing company. IntegraSoft's suite of software scales to meet and exceed your business needs. Their variety of solution packs will ensure that their ERP program can fit and grow with your company. Schedule a demo today. Our guest today on Pure Talk is Brady Hanna, a name that you may be familiar with from IntegraRental. Brady's been kicking around the industry for a few years now, and he's going to share with us his view on what's going on with the industry, as well as all the integration that's taking place with management software and all the different technology systems and platforms that are available to us. Okay, welcome to Pure Talk. As I stated earlier, we have Brady Hanna here from IntegraRental. Welcome to the program, Brady.
Yeah, Dan, thanks for having me.
So, Brady, part of the challenge that we're finding in rental is really having the systems behind supporting the processes of a rental operation, right? So, and I've got to say, in today's world versus the past, and I've been in the industry now 25 years, I do feel like there are more variations of solutions that people are attempting and trying to, pull together. And so, with that being said, IntegraRental comes out of IntegraSoft, right? It appears on the landscape. So before we get into the business dilemma that rental operations are facing and how technology can support and serve it, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and, how did you find your way to this industry, and give us the origin story as well as the origin story with IntegraSoft.
Yeah, so and starting off with IntegraSoft's origin story, we started in the early 70s, 1972, I believe, a small group in Kansas City selling a product called GAAP, General Accounting Practice. And that had many iterations over the years. The company changed hands, moved locations. No, that's the boring stuff. But it came to be in the early 2010s that we had a product called Integra ERP, and that's the one we still have today. It's a SaaS model software solution. And one of those customers came to us in 2014-ish and said, "Hey, I know we run Integra ERP. We're doing an awful lot of selling of telehandlers and generators and light towers. Can you help us come up with a rental management solution?" And that customer, a 5-location outfit, somewhat local to us, kind of thrust us into this rental management space, and they got the ball rolling on IntegraRental as the product came to be today. It also helps that we're 10 minutes, we're right across the river from the ARA. So between our customer, some guidance from the ARA, and some meetings we had with them, you know, we quickly identified this rental marketplace as a great place for us to be, as well as a software provider. And slowly but surely over the last 9 years, we've been enhancing our product, and it is what it is today, thanks in part to that the closest to the ARA and that first customer that kind of got us rolling in this rental management space.
Wow, very cool. And so I don't know if you had gotten into, like, where did you go to school?
So I did a couple of years chasing a baseball dream at a junior college local to me, and gave that up after the first 2 years and
I
went
think
to
I
the
remember
University of
you telling
Iowa.
me.
Yeah.
So
So I
you,
finished out the University of Iowa, and I got an entrepreneurship certificate as part of my business degree, and they required an internship. And I knew about IntegraSoft, in part for some family connections, obviously, and found myself with an internship. And we were just starting out this realm. We were looking for customer one outside of our current one to run IntegraRental with QuickBooks. Um, and I was the one who kind of that was my main project, find us one customer to over the course of your internship. So I quite enjoyed, doing that, and found myself wanting to continue, and ended up, you know, becoming full time with IntegraSoft. And almost 9 years later, here we are. As I'm now the sales manager, I have a small team under me, and this rental management product has really taken off and become a main focus of our organization. So
Oh, very cool. Well, I know, I've seen you kicking around the industry for a couple of years,
yeah,
and we've had the pleasure of getting together with some of our peer group members. And so, I'm glad we finally got you on the program today because, coming out of the shows that took place in Las Vegas this year, certainly it is you see things changing. You can see them changing in front of your own eyes. There's certainly been a lot of consolidation. The big get bigger. And we're seeing a lot of our members adding multi-location. So going from a single location to multiple locations is, it can create issues, right? And so as people make decisions to have technology follow them down that path and support their business, it's important to really understand, what's expected of you, from everybody, from your customers to your vendors, right? So,
yeah.
like in your case, so first off, tell us where you're at today. Like what does Integra Rental look like in the rental space? Do you have 10 customers? Do you have what's that look like?
I can't give away too much, but our customer count is in the hundreds. Not gonna say we're in the thousands, but we're in the
Hmm.
hundreds. Uh, we are slowly but surely picking up, a nice clip of customers each year, a customer count that we find we can service effectively.
Hmm.
We have not taken outside money. We don't have a huge capital infusion where we're trying to blow this thing up. Not that we don't want every customer we can get, but we've kind of just been slowly but surely chipping away at this space, making ourselves known, picking up a lot of customers through referrals and things and peer group stuff. Um, so, what am I trying to say? We're trying to say is we have a very large software capability at
Hmm.
a very reasonable software price, I guess. I don't know how to segue myself way
No,
into that
that's great.
statement, but
It's a
you
good
know,
value proposition. That's very cool.
our
Um,
most successful customers have started out with us as single location outfits, and over these last, almost decade now, have grown into being big customers, and they grew with the software as we continued to enhance it. So if you ask me who's my target customer, I'd say anybody at this point, big
okay,
or small. Um,
excellent. Very cool. And that's I think the other part is I know from a peer mentality and working with peer groups, a lot of it is shared experience. So, it's important for us to know when successes happen and also when there's challenges. In the peer group world, they're really big in EOS right now, which is traction, the book traction. And so one of the things they have to do is identify a proven process that they support. In that case, it's reserving, tracking, scheduling, and maintaining the fleet, right?
yep.
And so I know that you guys essentially focus on a process-based solution, correct?
Yeah, we absolutely have processes, but we don't try to force people into our vision of the process, right?
Mhm.
We have many customers doing the rental process extremely simple, and we have many customers with a very incredibly complicated process that leans heavily on technology.
Mm,
I'm not going to tell you there's a right or wrong, but I do believe there's a modern approach that we're seeing our most successful customers take with process and how involved technology is in that process.
mhm. I know that with your business, you do focus on fleet and asset management quite a bit. Why don't you talk to us a little bit about what that looks like? I mean, I don't know if you are a lead on the integration or like what would you say are you have integration, and obviously I love your name, IntegraRental, right? But you integrate on QuickBooks and different things like that. But
Yeah.
when it comes to the fleet and the rental assets, why don't you speak to that a little bit? How does asset management happen with your system?
So yeah, integration is a huge part of what we do, and we can come back to that. But if you're talking about how do we track the rental inventory, we track rental inventory almost, I wouldn't call it painfully thorough, but we have more feature set to track your inventory in its different phases, as I would call it, than I've seen in the marketplace. And some people really, really appreciate that capability, and some prefer to use a more slimmed down, version of the software. But the most profitable rental and efficient rental organizations have a process and a software in place that is capable of tracking every phase their equipment is in, whether it's being billed or not. And that is that sounds like a simple thing, but I haven't seen a lot of that going on outside of our platform. I'm sure some are doing it, but we track whether your equipment's on a delivery truck. We can tell you, hey, these pieces of equipment are in a delivery phase. They're not being billed yet, but they're being delivered, whether it's between branches or you're dropping off at a customer a day before, but you're not billing to the next day, or a customer called off and you couldn't get somebody out there for 2 days to pick up. We're constantly tracking that fact, and you now have 4 or 5 date timestamp things on a rental line itself to
Mm,
track its way through the rental process with the customer. And
mm.
I can get into what those are if you want to hear about them, but our customers are telling us that that visibility had enabled them to get more out of their equipment than they had they're not having to buy as much equipment because they're so efficient with the stuff they've got.
Now,
And
is part of that related to, I know, there's been some people make a big stink out of the fact that you've got like the ability to view those assets over time, like having like in your product specs, you talk about 28-day view. So that's like an
yeah,
example, right, of seeing that.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So one thing that people have to kind of get comfortable with our system is we're always looking for an end date, and that is a somewhat newer concept in this rental space because there's a lot of people, especially in the heavy equipment side, that don't know. They don't know. They don't want to
Yeah.
know. They want to just keep billing every 28 days or whatever interval they set.
Yeah.
And as long as that customer's paying that bill, they don't want to make a call and say, "Hey, are you bringing this back?" They
Yeah.
just want to keep billing. And so we have feature set to handle that. But on the flip side, for your outfits that are doing short-term rentals to homeowners and subcontractors where it's a much shorter rental period, knowing when something is expected to be back is enabling them to create another reservation for that next day, or that in some cases that next minute or the next hour, however long it may be. But they're managing their inventory days in advance or weeks in advance, managing conflict and squeezing every dollar of rent they can out of their stuff. No, it takes personnel to do that, but if you have a software system that is tracking and enabling that with the right personnel, those are our most efficient and profitable
Got it.
customers.
Okay. Very cool. And in a peer group setting, we bring up the topics and we talk about them as a group. One person has a different experience than someone else. Um,
Mhm,
One of the things that's happening now versus previous periods is the ancillary software that's available is pretty significant. So, you saw like gosh, Record 360 got acquired by Point of Rental and, helpful to them. In your case, you have this kind of mindset of integration, and I did appreciate that about it. QuickBooks, for example, being integrated is key. It's almost a requirement these days. But
It is.
yeah, and by the way, it wasn't always like that. So I'm much
Mhm.
older than you. I can tell you when it wasn't, and it was pretty wild. And obviously, having the credit cards, being able to have access to the credit card systems, and you and I in the past have spoken about what that looks like. And
Yeah.
some credit card processing works. We had a horrible situation last year where one of the credit card processors just quit on the industry and we all got stuck. And so we had to move quickly. But in your presentation about Integris rental, um, you also address ERP. You have ancillary systems that are ERP focused, or
Yeah, so our rental management product, IntegraRental, from day one was built to function with an accounting program.
okay,
And on day one, that was just Integra ERP. One of our 5 location outfits that ran an ERP had us create Integra Rental as an extension of ERP.
got it.
And it was much easier and far less of intrusive of a change to pick up customer 2 through however many with the QuickBooks marketplace. So we're an Intuit partner, and we're one of the few in the rental management space that take the time to do the Inuit security reviews and be a true partner of theirs. If you go to the ARA show, we spin their logo massive. And that's because we can, and we show off, and we're proud of our partnership with Intuit, because 75% or so of this rental space, especially ARA members, are running some flavor of QuickBooks, whether it's QuickBooks Online or QuickBooks Desktop. And we integrate with both. But we integrate with QuickBooks far more intrusive than other rental management softwares do, and some people really love that, and some
Hmm.
people don't, because of why not. But, most rental management systems are just doing an export of the general ledger to
Yeah,
QuickBooks, and then
yeah.
their accountants, do the
That's what
accounting over
I'm.
there.
Yeah, that's what I'm
Integra
seeing.
Rental creates transactions in QuickBooks. So
Oh,
when
well.
you transact in Integra Rental, you take $100 from Dan for a rental. I told QuickBooks that we created an invoice in QuickBooks for the payment you made to us. And even though to our users it looks like that invoice is an Integra Rental invoice and they paid it in Integra Rental, we are constantly in real time updating QuickBooks with all of the transactions happening. So your accounting and QuickBooks people get so much more information over there than they ever got before.
Mm,
And especially for outfits that did not have any rental management software, like our bread and butter, Dan, is if somebody has QuickBooks and needs rental management solution, we connect to their QuickBooks. We have their customer records. We have all their services. We have all their products. We immediately on day one have all that information. So it really cuts down time needed to ramp a customer up, because at
mm,
that point we just need to know about your rental management information and what equipment you rent. And we've seen customers get set up with us and build a QuickBooks in a week. Um,
wow.
Very fast process, which I know we haven't introduced him in this call, but you have a facilitator named Patrick, and he was blown away by the speed at which we can do this because we don't have to make intrusive counting change.
Mm,
We just augment what our customers have been doing for accounting with QuickBooks. And for someone who enjoys QuickBooks and likes what QuickBooks does for them, they quite like how we're architected. And it's
wow.
very unique. Nobody, to my knowledge, not another rental management provider has tried, right or wrong, to do what we've done with QuickBooks. Nope,
Mm.
nobody's doing that transaction level integration that I'm aware of.
Wow. Well, that's fantastic. I mean, obviously, I love it because inside peer groups, we actually have a chart of accounts that we recommend. And
Mhm.
so we work with our members to implement that chart of accounts in QuickBooks. And my goodness, if it's integrated back into a rental database, man, that's going to be really easy for them to get very quick analysis. I'm sure you probably have some neat dashboards, and or they could build their own dashboards out of QuickBooks,
QuickBooks. Yeah,
right? So
exactly.
that's cool.
We
Now
get
I
to
also
leverage all of QuickBooks' great accounting and reporting power by just
yeah,
feeding them the information, and we're kinda out of it. Um,
no, very cool.
so
And so you have also you make a point that there's going to be other products and softwares that are going to be exciting for people to take a look at. One is, two of them you have listed on your website. They're actually partners of ours, Rouse Analytics.
Mhm.
So you can talk to that a little bit. And then
Yeah.
also GPS. GPS is a big thing right now. We have a partner, Rovi Trackers, one of our
Yep.
associate members, as is IntegraSoft and IntegraRental. So tell us about what that looks like with those types of integrations or connections.
Yeah, so starting with Rouse, we got linked up with Rouse over a year ago, integration-wise, and we do the same thing everybody else does, right? We feed Rouse the information, and then the Rouse does what they do, and they give our customers the information they want in Rouse. But we went a step further in working with one of our customers, a peer member. I'm not going to name them, but they asked us to create dynamic-ish style pricing with Rouse. So every night Rouse will update IntegraRental with up to 10 different price levels by piece of equipment so that
Mm,
our users have last night's Rouse sync as far as rates, suggested rates, and our users can use those rates in real time ish last night and make pricing decisions without having to leave our product to go look at Rouse because the information is integrated in a transaction capability into IntegraRental, which 6 months ago when I last spoke to Kay at Rouse, she told us we're the only ones who've done that. Um,
wow.
so that
Very
was
cool.
a little bit of an advantage with our Rouse integration in addition to the normal one everyone does, right? We went a step further with them. And same for Rovi Tracker. Rovi Tracker is one of two GPS telematics integrations we have today. Alan and team there are outstanding. And in addition to just bringing up where your equipment's at, we've integrated with their technology so that our users can pull engine hours without having to call the customer and get those or spend the labor of their employee driving out or calling or asking for hours on short-term rentals and long-term rentals. I think what we've done with the interim, we call them interim, everybody else kind of calls them contract rentals, is every 28 days we get a Rovi reading. So we know the engine hours on day 1 and we know the engine hours on day 28, and the
Mm,
system will automatically add any overage rate occurred with that month without having to talk to the customer about it at all, and also updates their scheduled maintenance, you know, features and goals. Um, and again, that's just another something that our most advanced customers are doing with technology, and
mm.
that feature right there impacts so many pieces of the business, not only the bottom line with more money recouped for overages that most customers of ours just aren't getting, but also keeping your equipment up to date with service goals. I mean, you would think everyone would do that, Dan, but 5% of our customer base goes that far. And I bet in 10 years, 70% will be there. But that's one of our more tech forward customers is doing with us.
Wow, that's awesome. Um, well, very cool. I mean, I can't believe how much we covered already in such a short period of time. I wanted to pivot to the industry, but I had one more piece that I wanted to explore with you. So, obviously, we're hearing everybody is getting more focused on what's happening outside of the rental store, and that could be related to mobile apps. It could be related to things like e-rental. Tell us about what your plans are there and what you guys have in place.
Our plans for both of those products, and thank you for bringing them up. I wanted to at least hit on the e-rental thing. Our mobile application has been around for seven or so years.
Wow.
We identified early on that the rental industry was going to benefit heavily from great mobile solutions as
Mm,
people continue to start to do business on their smartphones.
mm,
And mobile has become such an important part of what we do and how we sell this product to the more tech forward customers. It's unbelievable. I don't know where to start, right? Just being able to pull out your phone and see your rental availability and write a rental ticket from your smartphone, invaluable for a salesperson. Being able to check in equipment, take photos, and have it immediately available on those contracts, invaluable for yard employees. being able to pull out the phone and create a service ticket and record parts and labor against the repair without having to go inside or involve a person to run the computer for that employee, invaluable for service. I mean,
Mm,
our mobile app has become a true extension of our rental management system. It is
mm,
full functioning, and we feel like it's one of our biggest advantages over our competitors today, and our customers are reaping the benefits. So as far as our plans for it, we're just gonna continue to enhance it, but it is a very mature, very advanced product that our customers are leaning on heavily today. I
very
mean,
cool.
our biggest outfits have all of their employees have our mobile app in their pocket, and they're
Mm,
using it in some capacity of their day to day.
wow, that's awesome. Well,
Yeah.
I'm looking forward. I definitely want to connect with you on some of your member lists because I think as I get out in the field, I'm going to be traveling around the country. I'd love to swing in and see some of this in action for sure.
Yeah.
Give us a minute of your time as we summarize and come down to the end of the podcast here. Talk to us a little bit about as a rental owner, what do I need to be thinking about in the next couple years? Where is technology headed? What do I need to worry about? What are some things you see on the horizon as far as where technology's going? Is it cybersecurity? Is it, what are some of the things you see?
Yeah. Great question, Dan. And it segued into part two of what you asked me about earlier, and that was our e-rental product.
Yes, thank you. Sorry
The
about that.
most in my and it's here. This isn't 2, 3 years away. This is here. And that is having an excellent web presence is the way that the smaller rental operations are going to continue to compete with the conglomerates and the massive outfits. If they can go pick a rental manager, it doesn't have to be ours, it should be just somebody's, right? They need to pick a solution that is going to enable them to have a truly excellent web presence from look, from feel, from functionality, and then from an SEO standpoint. Now we're doing all those things, and I could get long-winded like I have been tell you about how ours is great. But the reality is you got to pick somebody that is going to attract a first-time renter, a first-time contractor to the area. Because when someone comes to a new market or looks to make that first rental, they go to the web. They don't go to a phone book. They don't go to a friend. They go equipment rental and blah blah blah. And if you're not on that first page and your site doesn't look just as good as United or Sunbelt or somebody else like that, you're leaving money on the table, and those guys are getting those rentals over you. So that is like the number one bottom line inducing thing you can do with technology, and that is invest in your website. And I don't care how big or small you think your market is. If you're small, it's even bigger reason you need more you
Mm,
need more eyeballs on your business and reach a bigger audience. And if you're in a big market, you're competing with the biggest rental outfits out there. It's even more important for you to capitalize on the eyeballs you do get. I mean, we turned this feature on for a customer in a medium large rental market in the United States, and they did no marketing. And in the first year, they did 4,500 requests for rent through their website, and they were
wow.
shocked by it. And it's now a huge part of their operation. And I just can't stress
Yeah.
that one enough. Is having an amazing web presence really
We
will make the cash register ring.
I appreciate that comment because we've been dealing with this the last few days at peer groups. We're talking a lot about how things are harder than ever for our members and their growth, right? And so we talk about expanding their geo presence and identifying outside sales opportunities and trying to build that into a practice where they may never had done it before. So there's a lot of learning and stubbing your toe and all that kind of thing. But man, e-rental never even entered the conversation at the time because we were so focused on getting in the car and going out to the construction sites, right? And looking what's
Yeah.
happening in the market. So I appreciate those comments. It definitely makes you think, right? I know probably every rental operator who's listening to this podcast is probably like, "Huh, where am I at with that? And what do I need to be thinking of the next 1 to 3 years,
Yeah, I mean, I
as
could
that
keep
comes
going
up?"
on that topic too. It's not only an incredible sales tool, but
Yeah.
it's also a customer service tool. If somebody can come answer their question that they were about to call the counter employee of yours and ask with going to your website, if you spend the time to set up on your site, all these manufacturers are putting out how-to videos. Put those
Mhm.
on your website. All these manufacturers have great photos, great specs. Get them on your website. Most times they want that. I mean, make your customer's first behavior be a check on your website to see if they can find the answer, especially when you're not open for business.
Mm,
You're going to be stickier in your market because of these things. And then the final piece of this is pick a software that has a portal capability. We
mm,
hear from our customers all the time that they are keeping customers and extending relationships with customers because of their portal ability. You know, accounting departments do play a role in these contractor worlds, and they can dictate who they rent to because if they rent from Dan's Rentals, who has a great portal, they can get their invoices, their rental contracts, they can see what's on rent, they can call I mean, having a cable all the big guys have awesome portals, and, a portal has become equally important for customer service as the selling and taking transactions online has been for our customers.
mm. Awesome,
So,
that's great. Well, I appreciate it. I mean, I think about, the future of rental took place with the American Rental Association, and we have our meeting of the minds on the docket coming up with peer groups. So we're looking forward to you being able to participate that and share your wisdom and some of your future think. But thank you so much for being able to join us on the program today. It's been really good, Brady. Thank you.
yeah, Dan, thanks for having me.
You've been listening to Peer Talk from Peer Executive Groups, produced and directed by Noah Crowley and hosted by Dan Crowley. Subscribe to this podcast for notifications of future episodes of Peer Talk.